Alright, well, this is a video about basically taking a starter off a Kubota tractor and using it on my Evo engine. So basically, what I've come to realize is that although they look the same, I mean, they are identical. Here's the one I just got from Golden Auto in Kalkaska. So I don't know if you can see it very well, up that little tab right there. And this little guy right here. So the only difference I can really see is that when you go to put the starter in there, there's a little notch, see, right here, that you gotta line that up with. So, but the problem is even though these are identical, they're not really identical because that's gotta line up there. See that line there with that notch? So, but when I do that with the Kubota starter, the problem is that, okay, now that it's in there, normally that'd sit a little better, but there's an O-ring on there. I already took it off because I'm going to have to file that little notch off so I can spin it and align it properly, because you see there is one of our bolt holes for our starter. And this has got to line up with that. Same as this one here. Needs to line up down here. You can see that hole back there. That's the one we're after. So the other issue is that right here, this needs to be on the bottom so we can put her on there. But it's not going to line up with that notch in there, so we're just going to have to basically file that notch off right there so that we can spin it around and it sits in there. Apparently that's the problem we had with this starter, is that someone didn't do that, and they also must have used the Kubota starter, because when you put that in there, it doesn't line up correctly. So somebody's already put that in there, but when they put it in there, it was the wrong way, and it cocked the starter in there, and you can see where it tore up the inside of that starter pretty good. Pretty well just smoked this armature. You see a nice little burn spot right there. Pretty much smoked everything. Thank God I got a push start from my brother. And well, anyways, we're gonna grind that off, get back to it, and then I'll come back and show you what happens. I'm probably gonna have to try to figure out a way to make a notch when I do this. So you know, there was a O-ring there. I took it off because I don't want to damage it when I go to filing on that. But what I'm going to do is get that off of there, and then I'm going to rotate it so it lines up, make a mark. And hopefully I'm going to try to put something in there to hold this thing where it should be so it doesn't move around or twist or anything like that. So we'll be back. Okay, we're back. So here's the situation. I put everybody on pause for a moment. I went out and I went ahead and I filed that. You can see basically on, hang on, let me get a better view for you here. It was at one point right on the other side of this here. So I went ahead and I filed that off so you can kind of see where it was, about in there. But I filed it off. I put the O-ring back on there, And so now, when we put this back in here, it will line up properly and go right on in there. As you see, nice fit. And then this is going to line up there. This will be on the bottom, as it should be. And then this bolt down here. So now the only dilemma is we've got to make something up here and mark this. So I'm going to go ahead and put a mark up here where this notch is, so I know where it is here. And I'm guessing it lines up right there, so you can see my mark. So when I put that in there, it'll line up. And yeah, pretty close here. So I'm going to go ahead and put me a mark here. So I've got a couple of ways I've got in my mind. I've never really tried this or anything. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm either going to try to basically stamp that steel out myself with a punch so that this can't move around on me again like it did with whoever installed the previous one over here, because that's what happened to that. Basically it moved around, got loose, and caused some problems, and you don't want problems on the road, so let's take care of them right now. So I'm going to put you on pause again while I try to come up with some kind of ingenious way. Whether it be just put some good high torque silicone in there and let it harden up so it won't turn or move around. Or I'm going to have to make some kind of mark or something right there to keep that from moving around when I try to start it. And there's some torque applied. Alright, so I didn't get to show you guys, but I went ahead and what I did was I used some ultra gray high torque silicone gasket maker, which is basically, you know, when it hardens up, it's pretty much as tough as any kind of epoxy. So and it sticks really well, so it's kind of been my go-to. So anyways, as you can see, filed it down. I pretty much just made sure this was centered up with the bolts in the center here. So as you turn that, you know, you can see whether it was kind of like straight or off a little bit. So I just did some eyeballing, and it looks like that's gonna get us back on the road. So hopefully it lasts. We'll see.